Hello, I am Dagfinn from Imperial College. I work in a continuous update project of the World Cancer Research Fund. Today I'm going to tell you a bit about our new study, which is a meta-analysis of fruit and vegetable intake and colorectal cancer risk. And this study will be published in the journal Gastroenterology. The title of the paper is Nonlinear Reduction in Risk for Colorectal Cancer by Fruit and Vegetable Intake, based on meta-analysis of prospective studies. As you probably know, fruit and vegetable intake has been hypothesized to reduce the risk of several different types of cancer. Experimental human and animal studies have provided biologically plausible mechanisms to explain such an association. However, epidemiological studies have provided inconsistent results. Although case control studies generally have reported reduced risk of colorectal cancer with high fruit and vegetable intake, such studies may be liable to recall and selection biases, which can make conclusions difficult. In contrast, prospective studies, which are not liable to recall bias and less prone to selection biases, have provided less consistent and weaker evidence for an association. In the landmark report from 2007, entitled Food, Nutrition, Physical Activity and the Prevention of Cancer, by the World Cancer Research Fund and the American Institute for Cancer Research, it was stated that there was only limited suggestive evidence of a decreased risk of colorectal cancer with high fruit and vegetable intake. However, it has been hypothesized that only very low intakes of fruit and vegetables may increase the risk of colorectal cancer, but the previous systematic reviews and meta-analyses have only conducted linear dose-response analysis. In addition, there has been published several new studies after the 2007 report came out, and for these reasons we decided to conduct an updated meta-analysis of the available evidence with a focus on clarifying the dose-response relationship between fruit and vegetable intake and colorectal cancer. We searched the PubMed database up to May 2010 for relevant studies, and we calculated summary relative risks by use of a random effects model. For the linear dose-response analysis, we used generalized least squares, while for the nonlinear analysis, we used fractional polynomial models. We also tested for publication bias and conducted several subgroup and sensitivity analyses. In total, we identified 19 studies that could be included in meta-analysis, and summary estimate for total fruit and vegetables combined showed a 8% reduction in risk for high versus low intake, and the respective reductions were 10% and 9% for fruits and vegetables when evaluated separately. In a linear dose-response analysis, only intake of vegetables was significantly associated with colorectal cancer risk, and there was a 2% reduction in risk per 100 grams increase in the intake per day. However, when we conducted non-linear analysis, both fruit and vegetables were associated with significant decreases in the risk. And for fruit, the risk decreased the most when intake increased from 0 grams per day up to 50 or 100 grams per day. And for vegetables, the risk decreased the most when increasing the intake up to 100 or 200 grams per day. Above those levels of intake, there was no evidence that greater vegetable intake reduced the risk further, but there was a slight further reduction in risk for fruits. And for those eating 600 grams per day of fruit, there was a 15% reduction in risk. We also tested for publication bias, but we found no evidence of publication bias. And in general, the results were consistent across subgroup analysis, very robust in sensitivity analysis. In conclusion, our results suggest that most of the benefit of fruit and vegetables in terms of colorectal cancer risk is observed when intake increases from very low levels. And this suggests that targeting individuals with a very low intake may be most effective in reducing colorectal cancer risk at the population level. Nevertheless, recommendations for a high fruit and vegetable intake remain sensible, as there is evidence for greater reductions in risk with higher intakes for other chronic diseases such as cardiovascular disease and some other cancers.